Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone had an amazing holiday season and a very happy new year. Welcome to our first City Council meeting of 2026. It is Monday, January 12th at 1:01 p.m. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Pickett?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Martin?
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Bana?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Caraballo?
Hey, ma'am.
Please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Almighty God in heaven, we ask thy blessings upon those gathered here this afternoon and upon all of the citizens of Port St. Lucie. Look with favor on our leaders and give them the insights, the wisdom, and the patience to deal with the problems and tasks coming before them. Please bless their work and their deliberations. Amen.
Amen. Pledge.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have two proclamations today. The first one is for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and the proclamation reads, whereas the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an American pastor, activist, and leader of the American Civil Rights Movement and Nobel laureate, who dedicated his life to promoting freedom, equality, and justice through acts of nonviolence and service to others. And whereas Dr. King challenged America to live up to the magnificent words of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence, and inspired many Americans and people across the world to take constructive action towards achieving equality, justice, and a better life for us all. And whereas in reflecting on Dr. King's life and legacy, we can see that one person can make a difference, and a united community can change a nation and world for the better. And whereas Dr. King's body of work could not be destroyed by an assassin's bullet and endures in many ways and through many people. And whereas acknowledging the enduring legacy of Dr. King, we highlight one notable manifestation of his legacy, the designation of a National Day of Service to honor his profound contributions to our society. Now, therefore, I, Shannon M. Martin, Mayor of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, do hereby proclaim that January 19th, 2026 be observed as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Port St. Lucie, and encourage all residents to take this day to reflect upon Dr. King's message on the principles of justice and equality for all people, and to join with your neighbors in actively participating in the betterment of our community and nation. Is Nan here? Come on down.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, Council, City Attorney, City Manager. Thank you very much. We're very excited about this year's Martin Luther King celebration. It's going to be at Whispering Pines, and it's going to be on Sunday this year instead of the Monday. We also didn't want to conflict with our other surrounding events that were happening on the Monday, so we decided to move it to the Sunday. We've added some elements that I think will be very meaningful to people, including a march for unity. We'll march around. We'll also have, we're doing a call to service initiative where we have a lot of organizations that have volunteer services and things to come together and to meet the people and try to get them connected so that we can continue Dr. King's legacy of service to all. So thank you very much for the proclamation. We appreciate this, and we look forward to seeing everybody on Sunday, the 18th.
Thank you very much. We look forward to it. Okay, our next proclamation is for Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Whereas human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery in which human beings are controlled, abused, and exploited for profit through labor and sex, and child sex trafficking is the fastest-growing crime in the world. And whereas children have become the primary target of traffickers and predators, as reported by the Florida State Alliance to End Human Trafficking. And whereas human trafficking and child sexual exploitation online is happening in our own backyards, with arrests documented in St. Lucie County this year. And whereas Florida ranks number 3 in the nation for human trafficking hotline calls. And whereas local agencies, organizations, businesses, schools, and leaders are connecting to bring an end to this horror of enslaving and abusing children, and adults through awareness and equipping citizens to provide tips to local law enforcement. And whereas Florida Faith Alliance is providing awareness presentations for local citizens, videos and curriculum for children of all ages and for teachers to join the sweep of awareness. And whereas together we can rise to stop this travesty through awareness and education with a long-term plan to house and restore victims. Join Florida Faith Alliance to say, not on our watch. Now therefore, I, Shannon M. Martin, Mayor of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, do hereby proclaim that January 2026 be observed as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Lynn, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I am Lynn Barletta. I am the founder and the CEO of Florida Faith Alliance with a new name in 2026, UACT, United Against Child Trafficking. And I want to personally thank and congratulate Councilman Anthony Bana, Mayor Martin, and all City Council members for training your municipal employees in the Florida Attorney General's 100% Club in how to recognize the signs and turn in tips last year. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Janet Maxwell, the County Coordinator for St. Lucie. We're here to speak about the fastest growing crime in America, and that is online trafficking of child exploitation. We bring awareness to children trafficking in 5 counties, and we plan to go statewide as we work with our local law enforcement. Our program, Don't Take the Bait, is a training program that has been accepted in Martin County and Indian River County. We're excited about bringing this and introducing this comprehensive training to St. Lucie County School District, along with our parent and our youth task force. Thank you for helping us to continue this grassroots movement in Port St. Lucie. Thank you.
Hello, I'm James Billig, leading the UACT Blue Task Force. Our team of retired law enforcement officers train law enforcement and provide webinars on trends in the changing landscape of child trafficking and exploitation for parents, municipalities, organizations, and law enforcement. We are kicking off our pilot program, the Stewart Police Department, in the first week of February, training all sworn personnel, and we look to expand this program throughout the 19th Judicial. We've documented over 60 arrests in the Treasure Coast over the last 18 months concerning this issue. They all have one thing in common: the possession of child pornography, some as young as infants. Most have used this online approach to lure these children in. We are committed to ending this travesty and protecting our children. Thank you for your commitment to do the same.
Hi, I'm Mark Manning, and I serve as the COO for UACT, Florida Faith Alliance. The new AI technology means that predators and traffickers are bombarding children thousands of times per second online, trending gaming platforms such as Roblox, and through apps such as Snapchat, Wiz, Discord, Yubo, Perp, and many more that have to be constantly updated. As bots are programmed to seek children, draw them into disappearing chat rooms, form relationships with them, and talk them into sexting, sextortion, and even suicide. We must inform parents and engage our entire community to end this horrific crime. Thank you for becoming educated and leading the way to save our children.
Hi, I'm Tony Barletta, leading the Men's Task Force. This is Joel Bailey filming us over there. Joel is a survivor of trafficking. And together we are taking a stand for children in this state, this community, in this country. It's time to unite against all people who are against and helping human trafficking. So together, Lynn?
So we only have one thing to say when it comes to child exploitation and child trafficking, and that is not on our watch. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Questions?
Does anyone have any questions? No.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and I know that the City of Port St. Lucie, and not just our council, but the entire team unite around this horrible, horrible thing that happens not just in our city, but around the entire world. I just want to commend our police department for those that may or may not seen the story recently. Not only are we serious about it in the City of Port St. Lucie, but we're serious about it worldwide. And so I want to thank our police department for acting even on an international capacity to stop child trafficking and child exploitation. And so, again, we're your partners, and we'll continue to come alongside you, making sure that we come together as a community to stop this in its tracks. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And we do have an event coming up in February, and thank you, Councilman Anthony Bana, for speaking at that event. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We really value your partnership. Okay. Before we move on to public to be heard, I'd like to share our standards of decorum that we follow here in our chambers as outlined in Section 11 of the council rules. Our meetings are to conduct business of the city, and we ask that all participants please uphold the principles of civility, honor, and dignity. When addressing the dais, please use proper language, direct all comments to the chair, and refrain from personal attacks, disruptive behavior, or the use of profanity. In addition, outbursts or applause are not permitted. Each speaker will have 3 minutes, and time may not be transferred from one to another. If any of the rules are disregarded, we will provide a warning, and after that, you may be asked to leave the chambers, and if necessary, you may be removed under Florida law. We value and thank you for your participation and welcome your input. For public to be heard, this is your opportunity to speak to the council for up to 3 minutes on any non-agenda related items. I do have Ms. Spence signed up to speak. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
How are you?
Peachy Keen, Peachy Queen. I just have a question. I know a couple of weeks ago that they had opened a cold weather shelter, but it was only up in Fort Pierce. Is there a reason we don't have a cold weather shelter here in Port St. Lucie? The reason I ask that is they have to bus people from Port St. Lucie up to Fort Pierce. I mean, when we have nearly 250,000 residents and they only have 56,000 residents, one, you're going to inundate Fort Pierce. I know you guys are probably going to say, well, that's just a county issue. They handle all of that. But it's about working with the county to try and get something up here. I can tell you right now, I've been out into a lot of these homeless places in the last couple of weeks. Go up in any woods along US 1, any set of the woods, you're going to find them. You're going to find them behind the BJs. You're going to find them out west. They're all over. Foreclosures are coming in big time now. It's just something to pay attention to. And we have families out there that are in the community, in the woods, which is very, very sad. What are we doing to help them? You know, I just hate to think that we're expecting a bus to come and pick these people up and bring them up to Fort Pierce. They have all their crap in the woods because that's where they live, and it's sad. The other thing is, if you guys want to meet a awesome person tomorrow night, Matt the Welder, he's running for Commissioner of Agriculture. He's going to be in Fort Pierce at 4810 North Kings Highway. He's coming to town. The man is absolutely awesome. He digs, he discovers, he's looking into making sure that we keep Florida beautiful, stop cutting down everything, stop giving it all to the developers, and he follows back a lot of stuff to show where there's kickbacks here and there, and it's just something that I thought anybody's interested, look into it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council on any non-agenda related items? Seeing no one, I'll close public to be heard. Any comments, council?
Just that I think that I would love for our emergency department to get with Ms. Spence. I think her comments are valid. I think that that's something that we have said on the dais, not just with the cold weather shelters, but also hurricanes. The importance of the county working with the city to ensure that we have the proper accommodations and supplies for 60% plus of the county. It's not even the city of Port St. Lucie. It's 60% plus of the county. So I think that better coordination should and continue the discussion, as well as I do know that our neighborhood services works closely with the homeless. And so if they have any information they can provide Ms. Spence as far as what are we currently doing for those situations within our community, I would like to make sure she has it as well. Thank you.
We can also bring it up when we have our joint meeting with the county commission this week.
Yep, I think that's a great topic to bring up as well. Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on to additions and deletions to the agenda and approval of the agenda. We've been requested to table items 10L, 10M, and 11B and add the 7P. So please include that with the motion. Yep, 10L, 10M, 11B, and adding 7P. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? I know it's the first meeting of January, but let's go, guys.
Trying to get everything wrote down so I can say it in one complete sentence.
I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to consent agenda, does any member of council have an item they'd like to remove for separate discussion? If not, what is the motion? Move. With a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to second reading of ordinances, 8A, ordinance 25-80. Madam Clerk?
An ordinance amending Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter 158 Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Port St. Lucie by amending Section 158.110G to increase the maximum building height for public buildings and uses in the institutional zoning district, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. Bridget Keene with the Planning Department. I did provide a presentation at the December 8th meeting. I can go through it again, or otherwise I would request that that presentation get into the record. Okay.
Does anyone need the presentation? We're good.
Nope, we're good.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. This item is a public hearing, so the public hearing is open. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. And just for clarification, this is for public buildings, not for all buildings that are going to be, could be possibly built in the city. This is just for public buildings. Is there a motion?
Motion. Go ahead.
Motion to approve ordinance 25-80.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8B, ordinance 25-81.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 14, Block 355, Port St. Lucie, Section 2, according to the plat thereof, recorded in Plat Book 12, pages 12, 12A through 12D of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Motion, is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 25-81.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8C, ordinance 25-85.
An ordinance approving conveyance of temporary construction easement to Storage Cap, Port St. Lucie, LP, to facilitate construction of a sanitary sewer main, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 2585.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to first reading of ordinances, 10A, ordinance 25-73.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan of the City of Port St. Lucie to include a small-scale amendment to the future land use map to change the future land use designation of approximately .92 acres of land from residential, office, and institutional to utility for parcels of land legally described as Port St. Lucie Section 25, Block 325, lots 7 through 10, and generally located northeast of the intersection of Northeast Eroso Boulevard and Northeast St. James Drive, on the west side of Northeast St. James Drive, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam, or good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council. Bethany Grubbs for the record with the Planning Department. The application before you is a small-scale comprehensive plan map amendment. It's city initiated. The small-scale future land use map amendment is requesting to change approximately 0.92 acres, which encompasses 4 properties from residential office and institutional, also known as ROI, to utility U. The applicant and property owner is the City of Port St. Lucie, specifically the Utility Services Department, and the properties are generally located west of the intersection of Northeast Arosa Boulevard and Northeast St. James Drive. The subject properties are outlined in yellow. It has been a city practice that when land becomes available that is abutting one of our facilities, we can land bank it and use it for a buffer or and go ahead and encompass it into one of our projects at a later date. These properties are located in a conversion area. They were owned by a single-family home developer, and the city purchased the properties. And adjacent just to the east, you have the Northport Utility Site, which underwent a master plan a few years ago. And this can be used as additional land to serve that site. Here's a broader overview of the future land use change that's being requested before you. And you can see the parent site, that's going to be the utility site just to the west. The subject property is comprised of 4 parcels, and they are currently zoned limited mixed use. And the purpose of this request is to amend the land use from ROI to utility, and then we have a companion application later on requesting to rezone the property from LMD to utility to be consistent. The amendment is consistent with policy 1.1.71 of the future land use element, which essentially states that the city shall accommodate for future growth. The proposed future land use designation will allow the property to be used for utility-related publicly owned buildings or for uses under the city's utility zoning district. And the application advances strategic plan goal 5 of the city's strategic plan, high-quality infrastructure and facilities. Goal 5 focuses on planning of roadways, facilities, and fiber to meet future needs while improving transportation and advancing water quality. This request is a legislative action and can be approved or denied at council's determination what is the best interest of the city. When reviewing a future land use change, the project must be evaluated and site must be evaluated based off the most intense use of the development potential and ensure that adequate facilities are available. Upon review, adequate facilities are available. Again, we must look at the most intense use that can go under the proposed land use change from ROI. The most intense use is strip retail plaza, which is commercial, to utility, and we're looking at a reduction in net PM peak hour trips of 184 and an average daily reduction in 725 based off of those intense uses. The Planning and Zoning Department finds the petition to be consistent with the intent and direction of the city's comprehensive plan and recommends approval. On December 2nd, the Planning and Zoning Board unanimously voted to recommend approval of this application to the City Council. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Grubbs. Any questions?
No.
This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 25-73.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just under discussion quickly, thank you, Ms. Grubbs, for including the strategic plan item as far as in the findings and bringing it to the presentation. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10B, ordinance 25-74.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan of the City of Port St. Lucie to include a small-scale amendment to the future land use map to change the future land use designation of approximately 45.93 acres of land from 41.73 acres of low-density residential and 4.20 acres of utility to open space recreation institutional for a parcel legally described as a parcel of land lying in Section 13, Township 36 South, Range 39 East, and Section 18, Township 36 South, Range 40 East, and generally located approximately 1.5 miles south of West Midway Road and between Northwest East Torino Parkway and Florida's Turnpike, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Council. My name is Cody Sisk, and I'm with the Planning and Zoning Department. Today's application is for Luca Bay small-scale comp plan. Give me 1 second. Oh, here we go. This is a city-initiated small-scale future land use amendment for approximately 45.93 acres. It's to amend the future land use from low-density residential and utility future land use classification to the open space recreation and institutional future land uses. This is located approximately 1.5 miles south of Midway Road and between Northwest Torino Parkway and Florida's Turnpike. Here's the aerial in yellow showing the location. It's between East Torino Parkway and Florida's Turnpike. The surrounding uses to the north are utilities, and right above that is low-density residential. To the south is utility. To the east is Florida's Turnpike, and to the west is low-density residential. The zoning districts to the north are general use, and then above that's a PUD. To the south is institutional. East is, again, the Turnpike, and to the west is single-family residential. Here's the proposed future land use map. This shows that there's 3 parcels proposed to be changed to open space, recreation, and institutional. The current zoning of the property is general use, and again, it's approximately 45.93 acres. The purpose of the application is to change the future land use from low-density residential and utility future land use classification to open space, recreation, and institutional. While there are no current plans to develop the site, the proposed land use would allow the zoning district to be brought into compliance with the proposed park uses in the future. The proposed land use amendment supports a strategic plan, which is the city's goal to enjoy culture, nature, and recreation. The proposed future land use amendment is not expected to increase the demand for water and wastewater. The proposed future land use is expected to result in a decrease in average daily trips and PM peak hour trips based off the ITE codes. The property is located in the Zone X area, the area of minimal flood risk of the Florida insurance rate map. The environmental assessment report was provided, and the property contains approximately 40 acres of upland habitat and an estimated of 1.23 acres of wetland. The policy of 1.1.7.1 of the future land use element states that the city shall review future land use map amendments based on the amount of land required to accommodate anticipated growth, the character of undeveloped land, the availability of water supplies, public facilities and services, the need for job creation, capital investment, and economic development, as well as the need to satisfy a deficiency or a mix of uses in the future land use map. The Planning and Zoning Department staff found that the petition be consistent with the intent of the city's comp plan and recommends approval. And the Planning and Zoning Board also recommended approval of the comp plan amendment at their December 2nd, 2025 meeting. That concludes my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions? No. Just for clarification, and since it takes a long time, sometimes we don't remember, this was the property that we swapped with St. Matilda to put into, so it wouldn't become homes, and so we can add it to our parks inventory, correct? This isn't the St. Matilda one?
That's the next.
That's the next one? Okay, this is the other strip, though.
Yes, this is south. This is
when you showed
Right
the,
along the FP&L track there, right?
right, okay,
the Matilda Park is a little bit more north and a little bit more
a
west.
little more, okay.
The bottom tail of the fish.
Okay, so then that's the former property that was going to be used for the police department. I got the two swapped in my head. Okay. Yep, now I remember. This is a public hearing where anyone would like to address the council. Seeing no one, close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 25-74.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That's what happens when you don't bring your iPad with you to follow along. You swap the two items. 10C, ordinance 25-75.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan of the City of Port St. Lucie to include a small-scale amendment to the future land use map to change the future land use designation of approximately 28.81 acres of land from medium-density residential to open space recreation for a parcel legally described as Port St. Lucie Section 46, First Replat, Tract F, and generally located at the northwest corner of Northwest Blanton Boulevard and Northwest East Torino Parkway, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Council. My name is Cody Sisk, and I'm with the Planning and Zoning Department. This is also a future land use amendment for Torino Park. This is a city-initiated small-scale future land use amendment on approximately 28.81 acres. This is to change the future land use designation of medium-density residential future land use classification to open space recreation. This is generally located on the northwest corner of West Blanton Boulevard and Northwest East Torino Parkway. Located in yellow is the aerial of the proposed location.
This is the bottom.
The subject property can consist of one parcel generally located on the northwest corner of Northwest Blanton Boulevard and Northwest East Torino Parkway. The property was acquired by the city for inclusion in the future development of Torino Park. The property was previously owned by St. Matilda LLC and was slated to be developed with 263 townhomes. Through a land swap, the city acquired the property for Torino Regional Park, and St. Matilda acquired property in Southern Grove for a multifamily development project. The current zoning district of the parcel is a PUD. The purpose of the amendment is to change the property's future land use from medium-density residential to open space recreation, so the land use is consistent with the acquisition of the property for a future park site. The proposed land use amendment implements the city's park and recreation 10-year master plan and goal 6 of the city's strategic plan by increasing residents' access to nature and recreation. To the north and to the west, there's open space recreation, and to the south and to the east is low-density residential. The zoning districts to the north and to the west are both open space recreational. To the south is single-family residential, and to the east is a PUD. This is the proposed land use map showing that the proposal for open space recreational. The proposed future land use amendment was reviewed for impacts at the city's level of service requirements. It's anticipated to result in a decrease in demand of water and wastewater. It is expected to result in a net decrease in trip generation of approximately 1,072 daily trips and a decrease in 99 p.m. peak hour trips. This is located in Zone X, the area of minimum flood risk on the Florida insurance rate map. An environmental assessment report was provided. The site doesn't contain any wetlands. The native habitat has been disturbed through a previous land clearing. Policy 1.1.7.1 of the future land use element states that the city shall review future land use map amendments based on the amount of land required to accommodate anticipated growth, the character of undeveloped land, the availability of water supplies, public facilities and services, as well as the need to satisfy a deficiency or mix of uses in the future land use map. The proposed land use amendment will increase the amount of land the city has available for parks and recreational uses. And goal 7.1 of the recreation and open element of the city's comp plan states that the city should provide adequate recreation and open space facilities and areas offering a broad range of activities, convenient access, appropriate improvements, and sound management to provide all citizens of Port St. Lucie with active and passive recreation opportunities. The Planning and Zoning Department staff found the petition to be consistent with the intent and direction of the city's comp plan, and recommends approval. The Planning and Zoning Board also recommended approval of the comp plan amendment at their meeting in December 2nd, 2025. That concludes my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? No. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 25-75.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 10D, ordinance 26-01.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 16, Block 1616, Port St. Lucie, Section 23, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 13, pages 29, 29A through 29D of the public records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 2601.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 10E, ordinance 26-02.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 28, Block 2931, Port St. Lucie, Section 41, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 15, pages 35, 35A through 35L of the public records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-02.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10F, ordinance 26-03.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning two portions of a 26-foot wide ingress and egress easement affecting Parcel 2, St. Lucie West Plat Number 196, St. Lucie Center, replat Lot 3A, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 76, page 1 of the public records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-03.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10G, ordinance 26-04.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 17, Block 1968, Port St. Lucie, Section 19, according to the plat thereof, recorded in Plat Book 13, pages 19A through 19K of the public records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-04.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10H, ordinance 26-05.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 11, Block 2802, Port St. Lucie, Section 40, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 15, pages 34, 34A through 34Y of the public records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-05.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 10I, ordinance 26-06.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 42, Block 1307, Port St. Lucie, Section 12, recorded in Plat Book 12, pages 55, 55A through 55G of the public records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-06.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10J, ordinance 26-07.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 5, Block 727, Port St. Lucie, Section 18, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 13, pages 17, 17A through 17K of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-07.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10K, ordinance 26-08.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 15, Block 1550, Port St. Lucie, Section 30, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 14, pages 10, 10A through 10I of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-08.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I think that is the most we've ever had of those abandoning of easements. Your team's been very busy there, Mr. City Attorney. Shoot. Huh?
Well, not to be redundant, at one point in time, I was going to say, usually these are like pool enclosures.
Yeah.
And they require a public hearing, so they have to come to council.
Yeah.
Not something we can just do,
I know. I wish we could.
like application, but yeah, they're usually just like pool decks and those kind of things.
A lot at one time. All righty. So we are moving on to item 10N, since 10L and M have been tabled. 10N, ordinance 26-11.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning existing Riverland Paseo multimodal easements and accepting new expanded Riverland Paseo multimodal easements, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing none, no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-11.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10O, ordinance 26-12.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, rezoning approximately .92 acres of land located northeast of the intersection of Northeast DeRosso Boulevard and Northeast St. James Drive on the west side of Northeast St. James Drive from limited mixed-use zoning district to utility zoning district for property legally described as Port St. Lucie, Section 25, Block 325, lots 7 through 10, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
So this is showing as quasi, so does everyone have to be sworn in now? Since it's, even though it's our own city item. So for anyone who's going to provide testimony, please get sworn in by the clerk.
No one online, right? You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
Thank you. Council ex parte communications.
At some point in time,
it's
staff, Mr. City Manager, Kevin, and the team, at some point in time, I'm sure, yes?
Exactly. So we've all talked to staff, obviously. Okay, Ms. Grubbs.
Bethany Grubbs for the record. The application before you is the companion application to the comp plan amendment. This is the rezoning application for the 4 parcels totaling .92 acres of land from limited mixed use LMD zoning district to the utility zoning district. The applicant and property owner is the City of Port St. Lucie, specifically the Port St. Lucie Utility Services Department, and the properties are located northeast of the intersection of Northeast DeRosso Boulevard and Northeast St. James Drive on the west side of Northeast St. James Drive. The subject properties are outlined in yellow and will be added to the city's inventory of property. Adjacent to the east is utility. That would be the Northport utility site. And again, the property is located in the conversion area, which is an area that is currently designated as single family with the ultimate goal of rezoning to commercial or other uses to eliminate curb cuts. The proposed rezoning to utility reflects the city's intended use for the site of public utilities needs and is consistent with the utility future land use designation and supports the goals of the comprehensive plan and policy 1.1.4.13, which encourages the development of public utility sites and facilities. The Planning and Zoning Department finds the petition to be consistent with the intent and direction of the city's comprehensive plan and recommends approval. On December 2nd, 2025, the Planning and Zoning Board unanimously voted to recommend approval of the request to rezone the 4 parcels totaling 0.92 acres from limited mixed-use zoning district to utility zoning district to the City Council. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Grubbs? Okay. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-12.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to resolutions, 11A, Resolution 26-R01.
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the acquisition of real property described as Tract C and Tract F, Bridge Plaza, as recorded in Plat Book 24, pages 23 through 23B of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, for the purpose of expanding and enhancing infrastructure within the Port District, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Davis.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to bring this item forward. As mentioned in the title, this is for the acquisition of approximately 0.94 acres of land, the out parcel associated with Bridge Plaza. Property is located just on the east side of the St. Lucie River, the southwest corner of PSL Boulevard and Westmoreland and Veterans Parkway. There's a location map showing the identification of the 2 parcels. It is also adjacent, immediately adjacent to the east of Tract E, which is the property that is the boardwalk connection to the river. As far as the terms related to the purchase and sale agreement, it would be for a purchase price of $300,000. There is an inspection period of 30 days from the effective date, with the closing 30 days thereafter. We are targeting no later than March 31st for a closing. A special consideration for this acquisition, it will support the Port District Master Plan. We presented some initial concept designs to see what could happen with that site by providing additional parking, a restroom building, and picnic pavilions with shade structures, and what that would look like. And then we also know that this allows for greater flexibility when we consider the branding and the gateway features that would be on the the western end of the Port District. On this slide, it shows a couple of conceptual drawings. Again, these were for the purchase of discussions and negotiations with the property owner and just kind of visualizing what could go on the site. We will go through a complete process on developing a full plan for the site and taking public input for how that is going to be laid out. We do recommend the acquisition of the parcel, and I do want to take a moment to thank Russ Blackburn because he did the heavy lifting on working on the negotiations with the seller. So we want to recognize him.
Thank you. Many thanks to Russ. We all know that parking is much needed, especially in that area. So any additional opportunity we can have to add parking is really important. So any questions, Council?
I have a couple comments. So first of all, I do want for the record that the parcel is actually being sold for $900,000 plus. And so when we're looking at the price of acquisition, I want to thank the team for their diligence to ensure that the city wasn't going to be paying that top dollar price. Congratulations, city manager and team. In addition to the parking that's needed, one of the concepts that I would love staff to explore is instead of utilizing, let's say, a bench system, which really the goal is to park and get to the Port District most likely, I would love us to look at creating maybe a cutout where we could have a transportation provided. Because at some point in time, you know, I foresee that as parking and then we would have a trolley service or some sort of service that can pick people up, Freevee, whatever it is, and be able to take them to the port, so they're not having to walk the distance of the Port District. So I would like to see that. I did speak to the city manager this morning. He has some creative ideas for parking, which I'm excited about. And then in regards to the plaza in itself, a long time ago, I had someone show me, and it wasn't in the city, but someone showed me some ideas and concept of what could potentially look like for restaurants and those type of things in the future for the Bridge Plaza. Is there any conversation that's occurring with the owners and any of these investors that may be interested in redeveloping the Bridge Plaza area to maybe enhance what's already being done in the Port District, which would also eventually also bring in parking and those other things too?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's a couple pieces to it. There has been interest by some of the restaurants there of having the ability to expand or do something a little different. They have great occupancy in that entire plaza, which is wonderful. We love to see that. But it does present some challenges. And the biggest challenge is that the Tract E that I mentioned, which is where our boardwalk connection goes to the river, that initially was part of the entire site plan, and it had a parking garage on it, and it had offices. So it accommodated a lot more of the infrastructure that would be needed to support the site. So as developers have come in to propose to purchase this property and make it, whether it was an automotive repair shop or a coffee shop, there was a big challenge with parking. So I think we're going to need to look at what this site can present as far as parking that does also benefit our patrons, mostly our patrons going to the boardwalk, but also how it can look at the entire site and try to improve some of those. I would hope, I know from the CRA, we've always, since I've been here, we've had Bridge Plaza kind of reimagined in our plan, and that's something that we'll approach looking at as we look at that next. We just visited the original CRA plan as we look at this plan again. So we'll hope for some redevelopment in that parcel itself.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I would love even to get the EDC involved and see if we can at least begin those conversations to see what the long-term vision is for the owner of the parcel. Understanding his property rights, but then seeing is there any way we can come alongside and help it become even greater than what it is today.
I think from the CRA perspective, that's really what we would hope as well.
Yeah, and that's the point of the CRA, right? To put back into the area, right? So we should be looking at what those options are. So several years ago, are you sure you didn't see that rendering on a council meeting? Because way back when, and I don't remember if you and Steph were on the council at the time, but way back when, and I can't remember when, we did have a meeting, and we did talk about and show renderings were shown about like a two-story
Yes.
and what it would look like. So could look like in the future as we were continuing to develop the port. So I don't
And
know.
that's within the master plan. There was
Yep.
some renderings with that. I've included the offering package when they were trying to sell this parcel, and some of those renderings are included in there. Again, the challenge is with the parking and maintaining proper flow. So I think those concepts will translate really well as we continue that conversation.
Yeah, I remember it probably was presented again. I remember the first time I saw it, someone in passing said, "Hey, I think this is a great idea. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Well, we're not the owners of the parcel, so you have to go talk to the property owner."
Right.
That's kind of what I had to do in that situation, because there are great pictures, really cool ideas, but obviously it's a privately owned parcel that the property owner has to decide if that's something they want to do or not. So I kind of referred them to that. But you're right, it could have been presented at a council meeting at one point in time.
So it'll be great to see where all the options are, and it could be a great example of a good private public partnership that we can enter into in order to make that area even better than it is right now. So,
Like the number one request, restaurants and things to do,
exactly.
and roads.
Any other questions or comments? No? Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve resolution 26-R01.
Second.
Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, 11B was tabled. Moving on to 11C, Resolution 26-R03.
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the acquisition of a portion of real property described as Tract H, Port St. Lucie, Section 33, is recorded in Plat Book 15, pages 1A through 1N of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, for the Southwest Parr Drive corridor roundabouts at Southwest Darwin Boulevard and Southwest Savona Boulevard project, as being a public necessity and authorizing the city manager or his designee to take any and all appropriate actions to acquire the subject property in fee simple, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Council? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11D, Resolution 26-R04.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the city manager to enter into and execute a local agency program agreement with the State of Florida Department of Transportation concerning the construction of sidewalk improvements on the east side of Northwest Felucia Drive from Northwest East Torino Parkway to West Blanton Boulevard, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Council?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R04.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 12, unfinished business. 12A, hear a city staff presentation on Florida PACE and discuss the program's potential operation in Port St. Lucie. Good afternoon, Mr. Capizzuto.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, staff. Carmen Capizzuto, Director of Neighborhood Services. So I'm going to quickly turn the presentation over to Christina Flores, who has done a lot of work with this presentation. This is a follow-up to August 18th when PACE providers came, spoke to you all. Council directed us to get with them, which we did. We had a meeting. And then after that, there's been several back and forth, lots of back and forth requests for information. Christina has put all that together, and I think she's eager to share with you the research and all of us, the team, including the City Attorney's Office, Finance, several others I'm probably going to miss. We're all here for questions if Council has any. I did want to tell you several, or a couple of the PACE providers wanted to speak on this agenda item, so we did encourage them to fill out a comment card.
I did have one person who's...
One? Okay. All right. So I'll turn it over to Christina.
Good afternoon, Ms. Flores.
Good afternoon, Mayor Martin and City Council. Thank you for having us. As Carmen Capizzuto stated, that this is a collection of all of the staff together and what we have found during our research. We did put together the staff analysis. And as he stated, this was brought up at the August 18th City Council meeting, or sorry, City Council workshop, where the PACE providers did do a presentation on PACE. We have gotten together and done research with the internal team, with the City Manager's Office, City Attorney's Office, Neighborhood Services, and Finance. And this does link back to the city's vision to support opportunities for all people to thrive. So a little of this is going to be redundant based upon the PACE provider's presentation, but we wanted to show you that we did a deep dive into the PACE program. So what is PACE? PACE is the Property Assessed Clean Energy. It is a program. It is a financing mechanism that enables property owners to fund energy efficiency, renewable energy, and resiliency improvements through a voluntary assessment on their property tax bill. It is established through state legislation, which came out in 2010 with an updated bill in 2024. The repayment is tied to the property and places a lien on the property. It is available for residential and commercial properties. However, today what we're talking about is strictly just residential. That is the program that we did research for this discussion today. And it is administered by third-party PACE providers, not by the city. So if the city did choose to authorize PACE in our jurisdiction, this is the way that the process would work from their start to finish. The property owner would apply through an approved PACE provider. The provider then would evaluate the eligibility and the project costs. The property owner would agree to the financing terms, and set by law, the amount financed cannot exceed more than 20% of the assessed just value of the property. The improvements are then installed by a PACE-approved contractor, and the contractor is not paid until the work has been successfully completed. And then the costs are repaid over time through that property tax assessment. There are a list of eligible improvements that are available to homeowners through the PACE program. These are hurricane hardening, HVAC systems, roof replacement and repair, energy efficiency, renewable energy, water conservation measures, and also septic to sewer. There is a caveat, though, that septic to sewer, that in the bill it does state that a resident would have to utilize all local financing available to them, and we have met with utility systems to confirm that we do have a 0% interest that is available to all residents. No one really ever gets denied, so there really is no reason to utilize PACE for such a program. And a little breakdown about how PACE financing works. The typical repayment terms are between 5 and 20 years. The terms are based upon the useful life of the project. So it really does depend from project to project as what the terms may be. There are fixed interest financing costs on these loans or these liens between 6 and 12.99%, depending on the market value at the time. There are closing costs of 6.99% that are rolled into the lien. However, a resident could pay those separately as well. And then the resident does pay the 4% of tax collector and property appraiser each year as well. And during the August 18th City Council workshop, the PACE providers did state that the average loan on a property the project cost was $25,000. So we did reach out to the PACE providers who are here, and I want to thank them. They were so nice and with all of the various questions. One of the questions I had for them was to provide us an example of the average PACE lien of $25,000. And this is what we received from Chris from Fortify. This particular project has an 8.99% interest rate. The example is for 10 impact windows and 5 wind-resistant doors. After putting in the total closing costs to the financed amount, it does go to a little over $28,000. The useful life of the term and the term of the assessment is 20 years, which means that their annual payment added onto their taxes is $3,178.34. We also reached out to OMB and Finance and found out that the average tax bill in the city of Port St. Lucie is approximately $4,000. So the $3,178 would be added on to that amount. Over the term of the assessment, the amount of interest that would be paid is a little over $34,000 for a total of $62,739. And we did do a breakdown for if a normal homeowner still is paying off their mortgage, has escrow, that would make a $264 a month payment added on to their mortgage. And there is a regulatory framework that supports this. As I stated, it was created by law in 2010, and in 2024, there was a state bill which our local delegation, Representative Trabulsi, spearheaded, that put in more consumer protections, kind of limited what can be done in overseeing the PACE program. So it is authorized by the Florida Statute 163.08. It is implemented through a local intergovernmental local agreement between the jurisdiction and the PACE program. And then the property taxes are assessed via the tax collector's office. So if we chose to authorize the PACE program, our only portion of it is through resolution, an ILA. We would not be overseeing the projects, the financing, the loans. We would only be overseeing the ILA. And as I stated, there are consumer protections. So there's quite a bit here. I'm just going to kind of give you the highlights. The consumer protections really just verify that the contractors have to be vetted and registered, have to be allowed in the state of Florida. There are disclosure forms that have to be signed off by the homeowner before the project can be initiated. And the property owner has to acknowledge the repayment obligations. They have to be able to understand those and sign off on it before it can go forward. There are other consumer protections that are added to the state bill or into the law, such as the assessment cannot exceed 20% of the property's just value. The homeowners must notify the mortgage lender at least 30 days in advance. That written disclosure I've already mentioned. The improvement must be permanently affixed, so no temporary improvements allowed. The construction must be done by licensed and certified contractors. And then, of course, the state prohibits mortgage acceleration. So I know during the one-on-ones, we did have a question as to what consumer protections in the law were added in 2024, and that's what the next two slides show. We've already gone over some of these, but here's a few more to highlight that the annual payments are relative to the household income. It cannot be more than 10% of the household income for your annual payment. That you cannot have any outstanding involuntary liens or recorded notices of default on your property in the last 3 years. The homeowner must be current on their mortgage. And then, of course, that the county or municipality must authorize the program by ordinance or resolution, and of course, the ILA. And here are some more of those consumer protections that were in State Bill 770. And anybody who knows me knows that I love benchmarking. I love seeing what other municipalities around the state of Florida are doing. And that's exactly what our team here did. We looked to see what other areas are doing. We found that each jurisdiction kind of catered the program to their own needs and their own community. It does cover things like energy efficiency, renewable energy, windstorm resistance. Those were the main items that were covered. There are some jurisdictions that required their contractors to be verified through their contractor licensing board. There are restrictions that prohibit or restrict direct marketing and door-to-door sales. Some jurisdictions require the quarterly reporting as well as the standard annual reporting. And then they also have termination clauses that allow the ILA to be terminated by one or both parties if they feel as though it is necessary. And lastly, we did find that most jurisdictions who adopted the PACE programs did so between 2016 and 2018. There was actually only one jurisdiction, which was Hillsborough County, that adopted it after the 2024 state bill was entered into law. I thought that was an interesting caveat that all of the rest of them have had long-standing PACE programs. However, if you look here, this is the top 10 cities and their counties, as well as just the local municipalities along the Treasure Coast. Kind of, you see a variety of some who do and some who don't. So this is really all over the board. There's not a standard yes or no that we found. And one important thing to mention with the ILA that the city would have to enter into, the way that the PACE programs are governed, they're governed through a district. That district is a separate local entity, governmental entity. We would have to sign an ILA with those PACE districts rather than the PACE providers directly. So even though we might love Y-Grain or Fortify, Home Run Financial, those are not the entities we sign the ILA with. We would sign the ILA with the districts that oversee or govern those PACE providers. And this may lead to possible issues in the future if challenges were to arise. We can't just call up our partners and ask for any kind of resolution. We would have to go to that PACE district or structure. And this is just to show you what I'm referring to as far as that PACE structure. This is governed by Florida statute. The blue, the Florida Green Financing Authority, the Florida PACE Funding Agency, and the green corridor are those PACE districts that oversee residential. There is a fourth one that oversees just commercial, but these are the three that we focused on, and each one oversee different PACE providers. So from a resident standpoint, this is the way the PACE structure would appear. The city signs an ILA with the PACE district. The PACE district oversees the PACE provider. The PACE provider signs that financing agreement with the resident, and the resident signs a contract with the contractor. After the work has been successfully completed, then the PACE provider then pays the contractor directly. So this is the flow, and you see the different levels between the parties involved. Lastly, we did an analysis of the PACE program. We kind of listed all of the pros and cons we could find just to give you a clear picture of the program. The pros are that it definitely does offer this financing option to residents who may not qualify through other ways. It does provide 100% financing for eligible property improvements. It enables property owners to install these improvements without any large or really any additional costs, since the contractors are paid after the work has been completed. Repayment is made through their property tax bill, which offers longer-term payments than might otherwise be available to them. Financing is based upon the property value, and it does encourage private investment in local energy and storm resiliency improvements. And then to go over the cons that we found, The financing is based on the home value, not based upon the income or the ability to repay. The PACE liens are superior to the mortgage and only equal to state, county, and other municipal tax liens. Some property owners might not fully understand the long-term repayment obligations. The city does sign that ILA with the PACE district and not the individual PACE providers. There's lack of government oversight for resolving disputes due to that PACE structure. And lastly, we'd be remiss not to point this out, but the residents are at risk or can be at risk of losing their property if they do default or have lack of payment on the assessments. And lastly, when looking at the PACE program, we wanted to also look around to see if there's anything similar, just since the idea was to provide options to residents for necessary improvements. And we did find SELF, which is the Solar Energy Loan Fund. And you might be familiar with SELF because this was started in our own backyard with former County Commissioner Doug Coward. This program is very similar to PACE. It is already operating in our community. It still provides similar financing structures for residential improvements, everything that is covered by PACE, as well as mobility and accessibility improvements to the property. It also has accessible low-interest loans, not based upon credit score. And after we uploaded this, we did find out that the average interest rates with a SELF loan are between 5 and 10%. And then also additionally that the SELF pays the contractor directly after the work has been successfully completed. So it's very similar in the way that it works. So this is a great option that is also out there for residents. Whether or not the city council decides to authorize PACE, this is something else that is a good option, a good opportunity for residents. It's very similar as far as the way it works, except for that there are the max term loan of 7 years instead of 20. The minimum loan amount is $7,000 and the max loan is $25,000, except for solar, which can go up to $50,000. And then lastly, that the loan is tied to the person, not the property. So in researching this, we found that if somebody were to default, it just acts as a civil judgment against that particular person. The property is not at risk of being foreclosed upon. Other than that, it was very similar. So we did do a comparison between the two, between PACE and SELF, just to show the ins and outs and how similar that they are, with just a few caveats of differences between the two. So in summary, PACE does provide this property secured financing for qualified improvements. It is authorized by state law and implemented through these provider agreements. The benchmarking around the state of Florida does show a wide range of approaches through different jurisdictions. And the program design and oversight would be a key factor if the city chose to implement it. So we really do have the power to implement it as we see available and we see necessary for our community. So lastly, the city staff requests the city council provide direction on the PACE program and where we go from here. Open to any questions. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Flores?
I do have one. I didn't ask you this in the in our one-on-one, but I apologize because it's just coming to my mind right now. Is I've always been okay with PACE as a commercial. I don't know how I feel about it residentially, but I think the one area of residential that I'm interested in is leasing. So if you have an apartment complex, would that fall under the commercial structure or the residential structure? And if it falls under the residential structure, are we able to structure the ILA to just address those type of units? Because I see it as a commercial use essentially, is now you're dealing with a commercial investor or a landowner that might have many properties or a building of properties and needs to make improvements, and then they're the ones in charge of that tax bill, and it's not individual, so to speak?
One of the PACE providers might be able to provide a better answer. In doing my research, it did seem as though anything like that for a multi-unit property would be under the commercial.
Okay.
It would not be under the residential. The residential was more for single homeowner or a condo medium where there is a single owner per the parcel.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification, because if it goes into the commercial use, then it still can address residential for those situations. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it would have to be fee simple ownership.
That's, I just want to make sure, just to clarify. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions before we go to the people who signed up to speak?
I just have some comments.
Okay.
And you know, going back to slide 7, you kind of look at the financing of this, and it can seem like this is a bad deal for the consumer. You have $25,000 project. They pay over time because it was the only option available to them for a 20-year term. SELF doesn't provide that 20-year term, so this is an option for a consumer. So SELF is not an option for them in this instance. And they pay $34,000 of interest over 20 years because they want to harden their home and improve their home. Well, if we don't do this, and I've had residents reach out to me, independently residents reach out to me saying, we really want this option. If they don't do this, what's their other option? They put $25,000 on a credit card and with none of the consumer protections. And let's assume a 19.99% interest rate on that credit card. And there's no closing costs. Interest is double. They're paying over $100,000 for that same project. City doesn't oversee the project. City doesn't have any agreements with the contractor doing the project. And so right now, the only option available to that family today is to make a destructive financial decision. And so for me, it's all about consumer choice, consumer protection, and options for real families who need real options. And so I appreciate the research that went into this, but when you look at a slide like that, the numbers can seem scary, and so I wanted to put them into perspective as to what the actual options are for a family that wants desperately to make improvements for their home. Thank you.
But also on the same token, you have people that come in here who don't understand their tax bill.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to go on their taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that, I completely understand, they may not have any other options. And I totally understand that. But if you're that devastated and you need to use this service, you really don't care at that time. You're going to sign anything and everything to be able to get your new roof because you need a new roof, not thinking about the consequences, the long-term consequences. Then they're going to come in here and they're going to complain to us because now their taxes have increased because they put a new roof on their house. That's my sticking point. That's my main sticking point right there is putting it on their taxes. And the other thing that makes me lean to the no is they can take my property if I default on the loan. If you put it on a credit card and you default on it, they can't take your property. So now the people become homeless. So now we created another problem. And I know they're going to have answers to my questions when they come up here, but that's where I'm at. I am not about to say yes to add taxes to people in St. Lucie County when all I hear day after day after day is how high the taxes are in St. Lucie County, how high the taxes are in Port St. Lucie. Now I'm going to vote for and put something else on their taxes? I don't think so. Thank you.
Any other comments before we go to questions?
I'd like to respond real quick because, I agree that there's considerations, but we also have to state things accurately. This is not a tax. This is something that someone would voluntarily add and they would pay it on their tax bill. And we can't make decisions as a council based on how people misunderstand things. This bill, this SB 770 has consumer protections. There's an interview process. There's so many more protections that go in as part of the PACE process. So I don't think because we get some phone calls from people who are calling it a tax when it's not, that we should say no and deprive families who need this, who need this choice. So, I don't mind disagreement, but I also don't want something inaccurately stated. This is not a tax. This is in no way shape or form a tax. I would never support adding a new tax. And so I just want to be very clear about that.
So just for clarification, I don't think Councilman Pickett meant it to be stated that it was a tax. He stated clearly that it was go on your tax bill and you would be charged that assessment on your tax bill. So I didn't take it that way. I'm sorry, you took it that way. I didn't take it that way.
I didn't mean it was a new tax. It's
Right.
just something that's going to go on their tax bill, and it's something else that I feel that anybody who gets themselves in a dire straits situation like this, they're going to be at the point where they don't really hear and they don't understand all the ramifications of what could possibly happen.
Well,
And then
You're not
we're
wrong.
left to deal with the aftermath.
You're not wrong, because this has come, we've had to have these discussions before, and we have been presented with several instances where people were taken advantage of as a result of PACE programs, and people do get desperate. They do tend to sign things because they have needs, and they're not fully informed, and then things go wrong, and there is no oversight by this council. You have all these governmental entities, and it does get a little bit scary when you know that the state government and their agencies are, in charge of these things, or offshoots of state agencies that are in charge of these things, because people don't trust the oversight. And I completely understand why that would happen, because these programs, while they do help people or seem to help people, there has been a lot of people who have been taken advantage of, and it makes it very difficult to trust. So I just want to make sure that we're given a balance here when we're having this discussion. So, go ahead, Vice
I was
Mayor.
going to say, I have a lot of comments, but I really want to hear from
Exactly, we need
providers.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Well, before it gets away from me, the question that the Vice Mayor had about residential versus commercial and multi-unit, the threshold is 4 or less is considered residential, and 5 or more is commercial.
Thank you for that clarification, because I do believe that, and before you come up, just so you know, and I think I've said this to you guys before, I do have a vision for it for the leasing situation when you're dealing with an apartment complex. I do worry with the single family, but I'm willing to listen to see if I've missed any information along the way. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Hobbs? Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Rachel Hobbs, I'm with Home Run Financing, so I'm one of the providers. And I do have my colleagues here. We didn't want to all take 3 minutes of public comment if we didn't need to, but they are here. And they can come up if you have questions. So yes, thank you. We've worked with your staff. Your staff were great to work with. They were very thorough. It was a great presentation. Just to react to some of your questions. So yes, residential is 4. 4 is the magic number between residential, commercial. PACE can be used if you don't have to be owner occupied. So if you have an investment property or a rental property, you can use PACE on that, which is something that, is useful. There's a kind of a gap there in the market. So that's a useful part of PACE. I just wanted to address a little bit. There are concerns about homeowners not understanding. We do have all the paper disclosures now that are prescribed in statute and 770. There's also, importantly, the confirmation of terms call, where we make the call to homeowners. We do that, all of our companies, we do that in English and Spanish, making sure that homeowners really understand on a recorded call all those terms. And the script of the call is also prescribed in 770. So we have to be very thorough to make sure that people really understand. And we all really want these to be successful assessments. We don't want a bad assessment. We don't want bad business. It's not good for us, for our industry. It's not good for anybody. My particular company, we work with a bank, Amalgamated Bank, out of New York, and the bank is the private capital provider for this. The capital provider provides the money, and we're able to invest that. The bank doesn't want bad deals. We don't want bad deals. If we get bad deals, then the bank's not going to work with us anymore. So we're on the same Paige is all of you. It's the way that our industry is successful is that there are good deals. If homeowners have issues, then we have robust complaints processes. We deal with that. I just also wanted to quickly address the difference between the district and the provider. There is that kind of structure in process there, but we all work very closely with the cities and counties that we work with. The providers here, we're the people that would be reaching out to you if there were any issues. Our districts would let us know. I speak to my district on an almost daily basis. We work very closely with them. And if that was an issue for your city, you could even have some kind of indemnification in place with the individual providers as well. Some cities have done that. But we don't usually find that there is an issue that your ILA is with the district and not with the provider. It's not something we usually find to be a problem. So I would encourage, if you have questions, that I do have my colleagues here too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Just one question. Could you provide any data that you may have on demand in the city of Port St. Lucie? How many people have reached out and inquired about PACE and you've had to tell no?
Oh, so Chris is telling me that his company, Fortify, has had 400 homeowners reach out, or I guess addresses checked. Yes, and if I'm out of time, I have one little bit more to say about the foreclosure default issue. There was some research done recently that I believe we could probably share. It was one of the other companies, and it showed that in the population of property owners with PACE assessments, the actual default rate was lower than in the wider population of people without PACE assessments. If that helps at all. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yes, please. Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Chris Peterson for Fortify. Objectively speaking, not philosophically speaking, this program has been very successful. We have, when you look at the actual data, we used public data from the tax collector, from the Department of Revenue, nothing internal. And we did 2 studies, one in Miami-Dade and one in Palm Beach County. In both places, the tax certificate sale rate of those folks that have PACE assessments versus the population that didn't outperformed them by almost 1%. And also no tax deed sales. Nobody lost their home. Now you hear that from certain people, specifically even in this county that aren't in the room, who are philosophically opposed to this program. That's fine, but objectively speaking, the data doesn't lie. That's all publicly available data. This program is successful. These are people that are trying to fortify their homes or trying to strengthen their home against hurricanes, get reinsurance so they can stay in their home. This may be their only option, but the way that we are able to offer a 7 to 8% interest rate is by going on the tax bill. That's it. Otherwise, there are no other options at that particular rate. That's the method of repayment that offers that lower rate. Now that we have some structure on SB 770, consumer protections, confirmed term calls, paying the contractor directly, our complaint rate is like 97% satisfaction. Most people are very, very happy with this program. And the ones that aren't, typically it has to do with a contractor issue, which we manage that too. No other form of financing is going to offer that level of comprehensive, support when it comes to this type of a financing product. So I really hope that you look at the data and understand what we're trying to achieve here and what the effects of SB 770 have on this program. And it's been profound. It's been excellent. So whatever has happened in the past, yes, there have been issues. Those were addressed statutorily, and now we have a structure in place that makes a lot of sense. So I hope you see that.
So for me, just because something's in writing in a statute doesn't mean that there needs to be time to see what that data looks like over time, to see how those consumer protections have been.
I have a question for you as well.
In my opinion, have panned out. Because that just happened, so there's no data at this time to to see what the changes are that I'm aware of, and none has been presented to me. I just want to make that statement. Vice Mayor, go ahead.
No, I just have a question for you. So you mentioned tax deed sales, and I'm just trying to better understand the data that you're putting on the table. So from my knowledge, which, I mean, I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about tax deed sales. Those deed sales are purchased by people, those deeds. So are you saying that the ones that have assessments are not being purchased, therefore they can't be foreclosed on because there's no one purchasing the certificates? So it's not that the foreclosure isn't possible, the certificates aren't just being purchased. Is that what, okay, can you explain it more on the record for me so I can?
People that, so there's tax deed sales and there's tax certificate sales. Those are two different things. Tax deed means that you're basically going to lose your home.
Okay.
Tax certificate is when you're late on your mortgage, on your tax payment. So if you're late on your tax payment, then you go to a tax certificate sale, and then you have to purchase that back from whatever investor purchased those. So each county has their own data around how many properties are sold at tax certificate sale every year. When we analyzed that data and then we searched those that actually had PACE assessments, the rate of folks that are going to tax certificate sale without a PACE assessment was greater than those that actually had a PACE assessment, which means if you have a PACE assessment, statistically speaking, people miss those payments less than if they don't have a PACE assessment.
But argumentatively speaking, if you claim that we had 400 residents that have reached out at a population of 263,000, wouldn't the numbers just pan out that, I mean, you're talking about a very small fraction of the city that actually would be participating in such a program, and then even less of a participation as far as what's going to tax certificate sales. It's just, I'm just sharing that I hear you, but I feel like it's a very gray area to pull data from. And I'm just saying it's a very gray area in the sense that I can pull any number and I can make that validate my argument. And in this situation, I just feel that it's validating your argument, not necessarily providing me a true like bellwether of whether there's a less percentage of people that can comply.
I do take a bit of, to say that I'm misrepresenting numbers, I think is unfair. It's just data. We pulled the data, it's a report because we wanted to answer that question. That's the data we have. If you'd like me to send you the report,
I'm not saying you're
you can send
misrepresenting,
it
sir.
to whoever
Sir,
you
I'm
want.
not claiming, sir, I'm not claiming you're
Please
misrepresenting.
don't interrupt the Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're misrepresenting. I'm not trying to claim that because I'm sure that numbers are what they are. I'm just saying that those particular numbers do not clarify the argument that I believe you're trying to make. That's all. Thank you.
Yes.
Sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming back.
Yes,
to the
sir.
podium. Once somebody gets a 20-year loan, if I want to pay it off in 10, am I allowed to do that or am I penalized?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what?
Yes, sir, you can pay that.
That's what I was asking.
Yes, sir, you can pay that off at any time you want. The moment you get it, you can pay it off. There's no prepayment penalties. You can pay it off at any point. The typical average life of an assessment is 7 years in the state of Florida, 7.25 years, actually. So, but you can pay it off at any time you like before your term is up, correct?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else have any questions? No? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Council, comments? Or a motion?
I appreciate the options being provided. I just feel that for the city, in order to do this, we'd have to then endorse this program. And I'm not comfortable endorsing this program at the way that it's currently established. I do want to give people options, but, a time I don't even like government really getting involved in the lending process or in the banking process. But since we're going to go there, I think there was a time where mortgages were done in a way, for example, that allowed, variable mortgages to exist. And that wasn't necessarily a great thing for people. And since then, that lending practice has been dissolved. I think PACE serves a purpose. I think it does serve a purpose. It did a great job working with the Latalogics for our commercial PACE process. I believe that it has a great commercial purpose. But for the individual, I fear being part of, I don't even want to be part of that conversation of someone losing a home. And so to even think that I would endorse such a program and have a resident come to me and say, something's happened, something's changed, my finances have changed, my husband passed. I mean, I think of all the things that we hear while we hear from residents they may want this, we hear from residents day out and day in of all of the challenges that they're having with just normal day-to-day life. And I just think that there's other ways to lend. I think self is an option, obviously, that we already have. I'm just not comfortable endorsing this at this time in this model for residential. For commercial, absolutely. For residential, no. Thank you.
Other comments?
Sure, Madam Mayor. I agree government shouldn't get involved in financing, government shouldn't get involved in lending, but what government does is make laws. And right now, the law of the land in this city is that someone that wants to strengthen their home and fortify their home can put $25,000 on a credit card, not be able to pay it off, and go to bankruptcy. You know, I deal with data, not hypotheticals. And you look at the data that was presented in the other counties. If someone has a PACE loan, they're less likely to default on their home than the average homeowner in the average population. And so for me, I think it's about providing choice to consumers. It's about providing options to real families that need it. And so what I cannot endorse is something that says put $25,000 on your credit card because the city council didn't believe that you knew what you were getting into. And so I simply can't endorse that. I can't deny those families that option. The 400 people were from just one company, so that's not the demand across the whole industry. It's just an example, and I think. And I hear the way the discussion's going, but I just need to get on record where I stand is, you know, I think we've addressed a lot of legitimate concerns through those consumer protections. There's a recorded phone call when somebody agrees to this, so they've heard all of the terms. And so when they come and say, nobody ever told me, we can actually play back you know, the actual phone call that happened. So I mean, I think, and there's a whole 2 slides of consumer protections in there. And so I would be supportive of working together with PACE to find something that fits our community. I'm not saying give carte blanche. What I am saying is let's find a way, put whatever local consumer protections we want in that haven't been addressed in statute, because they've been willing to work with any concern we might have. And maybe there's even a way, you know, and I don't know, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, maybe there's even a way that we can prevent foreclosure from happening with a local, I don't know, but I'm just saying, let's not close the door. Let's get something that works for our community, and that's where I stand. Thank you.
So I wonder if those 400 individuals knew about SELF. And I know I have no affiliation with SELF whatsoever, but the idea of attaching it to their property when they do have another option, which would not attach it to their property, and they can look into that option and be given that information, maybe that could also assist. But to say that that's the only option of putting it on a credit card, well, a credit card is definitely different, and it doesn't attach to your property. But I know that there have been many issues, and those consumer protections have not been in long enough to see how those have been tested and to see what may work and may not work. And I just don't feel this is right for us to get ourselves into at this time, so I will not be supporting it.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
And just because, you know, I do think communication is key, these are some, so I didn't want to go into all the concerns, but I do have, so when I reviewed the item with staff, for example, some of the things that I noticed is in the comparison counties that do not authorize PACE. Tallahassee, for example, I believe is the poorest city in the state of Florida. And Duval and Jacksonville also have a tremendous amount of poverty. And then you look at Tampa, Orange County. These are cities that have significant issues with income, and they've also decided not to endorse PACE. And I think to me, that also speaks volumes, because it is supposed to be that last resort type of landing for people to come in on. And then the other challenge with the PACE programming is the fact that we're endorsing and allowing it, but we really have no control after that. Right. Nor do we have the ability to get involved because of the way the state statute is written. Right. And we can't necessarily wash our hands clean of it. And I think the challenge is, for example, The PACE provider pays the contractor. These people in the audience are probably very reputable, fantastic individuals that run a very reputable PACE programming. But that may not be the case with everyone. And you might have a situation where there's a dispute between a contractor and the resident. They don't believe they received the services. Now the PACE provider has the right to go ahead and pay them, even if they're not, I mean, and I know I've heard the conversation, you're gonna say they're okay with it and all these things, but the reality is that they're paying the contractor, and then the resident could have issues later. What if the work isn't warranted appropriate? There's just so many things, and then they come back to the city, and they blame us. And they blame us for not being the watchdogs for them on this issue, for us allowing this to take place. And at the end of the day, you can be in a situation today and then tomorrow get that bill to your table and have to deal with it. And when you're dealing with it being on the tax roll, which is lien to your home, and now you have to pay that. And I mean, this goes back again to the disagreement of the different liens and stuff. Like, I think about it, I'm going to do everything I can to keep my home at any point in time. To tie this to their house, that if they don't pay it, they lose their home. Regardless of what statistics say, a credit card doesn't do that.
That's right.
I can't, my parents are in their late 60s. My dad's, I'm sorry, Dad, to tell your age. My dad's in his late 60s. He recently had a situation like this where he had to put his AC unit that he purchased on a credit card. And that interest is a lot higher. But if my father came to me and said, honey, this is the choice I have. Either I do this and I lien my property or I put it on a credit card, I would tell my father at his age and his ready to retire, do not lien your home. 100% do not lien your home. So I understand we're giving people choices. I want them to have choices. I don't want to be in charge of endorsing those choices for them. And I can't endorse that. So
Okay, so any other comments?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Do roll call.
Yeah, we could do roll call.
The motion is for denial of item 12A. Councilman Pickett?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Martin?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Bana?
No, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Caraballo?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilwoman Morgan?
We're moving on to the city manager's report because there is no new business.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to take the opportunity to thank the council for approving a couple items on the agenda, specifically the couple pieces on Parr and also Darwin for their future roundabout. But also, I want to bring to council attention, I think this is great news, that the city of Port St. Lucie has been named a finalist for the Community Playmaker 25 Community of the Year Award. The annual honor recognizes cities, towns, and counties around the United States for their outstanding commitment to enhancing quality of life through innovation program, visionary leadership, and community-driven solution. The three finalists are Port St. Lucie, Haines City, Kansas, and Monterey in Pennsylvania. So really, we're looking forward to winning this prestigious award, and the announcement will be made January 22nd. So we're looking forward to us winning that again, another one. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Morgan.
So I'm not going to go over some old stuff from last year because it's all old. So on January 7th, prior to the fire board that I attended, Sergeant Eric Levasseur was released and got to go home. And I think that was just an amazing day. So I'll move on from that. So welcome home. So the public is going to be invited, or is invited, to a meeting on Wednesday, January 28th to discuss improvements for Bayshore Boulevard. Now, this is the second public hearing. Everybody that was at the first, please come back, because my memory is different than what staff's was. Sorry, not sorry, had to throw that out. So this is regarding Bayshore Boulevard improvements from Prima Vista to the Selvets Road, where the roundabout is. So this is on the 28th from 5 to 7 over at the community center. And the presentation will begin at 5:30. So be there and let your voice be heard.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pickett?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to comment on the Sergeant Lavasser leaving the hospital, but more importantly, or just as important, the video that the police did. And I talked to the manager about it this morning. I don't know who did that video, but they hit a home run with that video. And I'm a grown man, and I'm not afraid to publicly say that I cried while I was watching that video.
I cried too.
And it was just so amazing to see him walk out of the hospital after what that man endured. And I had tears in my eyes, and I'm starting to tear up now, so let me continue on. One thing I want to comment on, the lights at the port, phenomenal job. And I would like to see, from the time we put the lights up until maybe today, because I think the lights are still up, what has been our attendance at that park? I'm just curious to see, because I know that the couple times that I went over there, that parking lot was full. People were driving around looking for parking spots, so it was very well received.
We'll go ahead and provide you via memo with that information.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, there are 3 upcoming learning opportunities that can help entrepreneurs grow their businesses. The Before You Sign Lease Workshop will take place January 14th at the Community Center. The Pathway to the Business Expo will be held January 15th at the Community Center. And the 10-week Port St. Lucie Business Accelerator Program begins January 21st at the Indian River State College campus. So visit Port St. Lucie, our city website for more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Council, if you allow me to indulge you, I really wanted to, I do have items, but I'm not going to hit those. I really want to discuss a preemption issue for a few minutes of my council comments. And so, as everyone's aware, the heat is on with local government. Our state government continues to discuss the importance of local government, the validity of local government. There's been a lot of discussions of that in regards to property taxes. And honestly, as I spoke to the city manager and to the team, I welcome those discussions. I think it's a great opportunity to highlight the importance of local government, the service it provides, the level of value that our residents receive with their local government. So as this year continues, I really look forward to those discussions. But in addition, this House and the Senate isn't just discussing property taxes. There has been some issues previously that have come up that have died and now are moving. And one of those issues that deeply concerns me for the city of Port St. Lucie is the discussion of SB 48, which is going to allow accessory units by right. And I just want to share with you, there's a House companion. It has already passed Community Affairs, and it is scheduled on January 14th at 11:30 a.m. This week. And basically it says, by December 1st, 2026, all local governments shall adopt an ordinance to allow accessory dwelling units in an area zoned for single-family residential use. Such ordinance must apply prospectively to accessory dwelling units approved after the date of the ordinance is adopted. Such ordinance may regulate the permitting, construction, and use of accessory dwelling units, but may not do the following. And I think this is what's really important of the home rule issue. Number one, I think I've heard it enough on every social media platform that we don't want our city to become Miami. And one of the things that stops our city from becoming Miami is not having 0 lot lines and homes and concrete one on top of the other. And then goes into the conversation of granny cottages. Well, I want my mom to live behind me, and I want to be able to have my family, which I think, same thing. I want my parents to live, close to me, and I'm okay with them living behind me. But here's the problem with what they're not only are they telling us we have to adopt an ordinance, they're also telling us what we cannot put in it. One of them is or here are the items: prohibit the renting or leasing of an accessory dwelling unit, except to prohibit the renting or leasing of an accessory dwelling unit approved after the effective date of the ordinance for a term of less than 1 month. So they're trying to, in my opinion, this is what I'm seeing, they're trying to deal with the Airbnbs, but you can rent an Airbnb for more than a month. So let's figure that out. Require that the owner of the parcel on which the accessory dwelling unit is constructed resides in the primary dwelling unit. So now you can have investors come in, purchase a property, not even live there, then go ahead and build an accessory dwelling unit and rent out both parcels. Now we're dealing with duplexes in our neighborhoods and multifamily, not single family. Increase parking requirements on any parcel that can accommodate additional motor vehicles on a driveway without impeding access to the primary dwelling unit. So we can't speak about parking, not allowed. We don't have to figure out parking. Require replacement parking if garage, carport, or covered parking structure is converted to create an accessory dwelling unit. So if they use those facilities and they've diminished the parking, we can't require them to replace that parking either. So again, this is being sent under the affordable rental and affordable housing discussion, all which I think we welcome. I just wonder what my city is going to look like if this passes. What's going to happen? And it won't be immediate, right? Not everyone's going to turn around and build an accessory dwelling unit today. It could be 25 years, 50 years from now. What is our city going to look like? What is the state of Florida going to look like? This is a bill that deeply, deeply concerns me. And I would ask, if it concerns you, to please speak to your representatives, and as well as, our staff. If I don't know, Mayor, if you're comfortable opining something to the state and the House, but I would love to just give them at least some education of what can happen to our city if this was to pass, and the challenges that they would have. And I know that they're always open to amendments, so maybe the bill can be further amended to address our concerns. But I am concerned. Thank you.
I'm concerned as well, and I'd be very happy to do that. So, anything else? Vice Mayor?
Go ahead. I know that Nan hit on Martin Luther King Day, but my announcement is that we want to make sure that you join the City of Port St. Lucie January 18th as we honor the life and legacy of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. with a vibrant community celebration featuring live music, food, and family-friendly activities. The celebration kicks off at Whispering Pines Park beginning at 1 p.m. There will be an MLK Jr. March in the park, food trucks, and children activities throughout the day. Not on this report, but I know they're planning Fam Fest as well, too, which is in February, which I know is another great event as well. Thank you.
Is there consensus on the letter or whatever we're going to do, just as long as we're talking about it?
I'm good with her penning a letter. I don't know how the rest of the individual of the board feel.
I just want to make sure.
Is everyone okay with me doing a letter on behalf of the city?
Is the letter coming from the mayor, or is it coming from the council?
Mayor, on behalf of the council.
Because, I would just want to read the bill first, and because I'm generally supportive of ADUs. I think with local ordinance, so, yeah, to fit our community. I've sat on affordable housing for my service on the council, and I think we talk all about affordable housing isn't going to be solved by throwing money at it. It's going to be solved by giving people more property rights and increasing housing stock. And I had a situation with my father when he was passing. We had to build an addition, and so it was quite expensive. And I know a lot of families face those issues too. So for me, I have no problem. Whatever the mayor wants to send, she can send. If it's on behalf of the council, I'd like to take a closer look at it.
So if I may, Councilman Bond, I understand your concerns, and not going to make you give a full opinion. Personally, I think this is just off of the beaten path. Single-family resident, I believe in property rights too. You purchase a single-family residential home in a single-family residential neighborhood. Therefore, single-family house should be on there. Once you start expanding to multifamily and/or duplexes, potential what could be, basically it's just a modified duplex. That's when you're starting to infringe on what you've actually bought into. That's just my personal opinion. I don't want to take away anybody's property rights. I want people to be able to use their single-family residential property, including having accessory. I think the accessory structure is key to have when you're looking at sheds and other things that support that single-family use. My concern is the expansion of development to the point where we're creating essentially zero lot line situations with housing. And oh, by the way, here's the kicker of this bill. It doesn't apply to HOAs or gated communities, which means that if you have enough money to live in a gated community and you have enough money to pay all those fees, you get to live with a nice neighborhood and a single family house, whereas everyone else is subjected to this. So I feel that this is a home rule discussion, and every city should be able to decide whether or not they want a accessory dwelling unit and what that looks like and what the laws are behind that, which is, I think, what you're saying. What I would like the mayor to pen isn't a pro or con. In fact, I don't want her to pen whether we're for or against it. I would love for her to pen a letter just giving data and facts from staff of what the impact would be subject to this approval. Not that we're gonna say, I'm not even saying right now I agree or disagree. I just want to share our challenges with them and then see if they can make any further amendments that would improve our challenges.
The issue is taking away local control. That's the issue. And that's what I would pen the letter about and work with Kate and the team in order to do that. It's not, we can get into all the weeds and everything, but the issue is taking away home rule powers for us to decide. That's
I think it's to do an ordinance.
so. And of course, I would be happy to make sure everyone sees what it looks like. I'm not going to send out a letter on behalf of the council without everyone looking at it. So if everyone's good with that, then I'll have staff and I'll work on it with staff. Good? Okay. Councilwoman Bonner.
Yes, so glad that Sergeant Lavasser's home, that was, victory over evil, and it's been, so much has been said about it. So the traffic signals for the intersection of Community Boulevard and Discovery Way have been designed, and masked arms are currently being manufactured. Once complete, the traffic signals are anticipated to be installed no later than spring 2026. To ensure safety and traffic flow during this time, temporary traffic signals were put in place December 22nd and will remain until the permanent traffic signals are fully installed. Thanks.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yes, Happy New Year. And it has truly been amazing to see Sergeant Lavasser come home, be able to go home. I did get to see him this weekend. The Men at Arms Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club held a fundraiser for him at their location on Macedo over the weekend. He was there with his wife for a short period of time. He, despite all of his challenges that he has had and continues to have, because he cannot hear in his right ear, he still does not have vision. In one eye, he can see shadows. In the other eye, he cannot see at all. So he's had multiple surgeries. He's going to continue to have multiple surgeries in order to help facilitate restoring sight and for whatever other issues he may need in the future, especially with regard to the scars on his face. But when I tell you I've never met someone more positive, despite what has happened, how much he wants to get back to work, how much he wants to continue supporting his guys and girls, it is truly, truly remarkable. And his wife, Jen, is an absolute rock star. She has been by his side every step of the way, nursing him back to health. She is a nurse by profession, and she has been intricately involved. His sister has also been amazing, right by his side as well. But I need to also thank our community, because I cannot tell you the amount of support that Eric and his wife and his family has received by individuals, by businesses. Everything that his family has needed over the past month or so has been fulfilled. And that makes me, and it should make all of us, so incredibly proud of the community that we have. We are such a caring, compassionate, supportive, loving community, and to see that outpouring of support has just been, there's just no words. There's no words to describe how wonderful it has been, and I know it's going to continue as well. So I just want to thank everyone in our community so much for all of your support and your help that you have given to Sergeant Lavasser and Jen and their entire family. So thank you. And another note, on December 22nd, I was pleased to share the annual State of the City by video message. It is on YouTube. This year's message focused on Port St. Lucie's accomplishments, all the things that we worked on, infrastructure projects as well, especially because they are very, very important. Also focused on our city being named All-America City by the National Civic League, and highlighted how our collaboration with our residents, with our stakeholders, our civic engagement, and the innovative way that we do things played important roles in all our accomplishments for 2025, and how those achievements are stacking us up and preparing us for success this year. So I just want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to go on YouTube and to review the State of the City for 2025. With that, I don't have anything else. Thank you all very much. We're adjourned.